Right. I think it's time I said this. I've been living a bit of a lie for a long time. And the truth of the matter is, I need to admit to myself, my friends, my family, that it's not an easy thing to say, obviously, but I'm going to have to come out and admit that I like Triumph Tr7s. I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to have to admit that I like Triumph Tr7s, and I think they're better than mk2 Escorts. It's a hard journey to take. I know they're not a popular car. I know they're very Marmite in the styling, they're very Marmite in general, but as a car, a Triumph Tr7 is an excellent car. Now, I've worked on many Tr7s. When I worked for Yorkshire Triumphs, I haven't done many here, I've done a couple. Picked up a Grinnell recently, I did a video on that. I think a Tr7 with a V8, or a Tr8, in fact, is one of the best 70s, 80s cars out there. They were a fabulous rally car. They're short, they're wide, they're almost square track and length. The suspension is outstanding. Basically, if you take a mk2 Escort, probably in my opinion, one of the ugliest cars from the 70s and 80s. I love a mk1 Escort, I love mk1 Capri. And you basically spend an absolute arm and a leg repairing all the rot, and then another arm and a leg converting it with Group 4 fittings. I've done all this. I had a mk2 Escort. I'll put a picture on the thumbnail. Changing the brakes, changing the running gear, changing the suspension, 4-link in the back end, Watts linkages, panhard rods, coilovers, bigger front brakes, different engine, obviously, 5-speed transmission, stuff like that. Then, in effect, what you're doing is turning it into what a Tr7 is already. If you ever get the opportunity to look under a Tr7, if you haven't done already, things like the rear chassis rails are huge, big, massive, strong affairs. Now, I know everybody's sat there thinking, he's talking absolute rubbish, he's talking bunkum, he's talking out of his bottom. Tr7s are rubbish, they rot away. Well, all 70s, 80s cars rotted away, everything did. You look at a Fiat, an Alfa, a Ford, a Tr7, they're all the same. They're just not popular. Now, I haven't owned a Tr7. The reason I haven't owned a Tr7 is just purely because, A, I think I'd struggle to sell it because they're unpopular, and B, I haven't found one that didn't need welding. And unfortunately, unlike the more popular or more common, if you like, mk2 Escort, parts aren't as widely available, especially body panels and things like that. So therefore, if you've got restoration work to do on one, it can be quite difficult. You can get certain amounts, and there are still some new old stock parts available, but it's quite difficult to get hold of and therefore quite expensive. And you're going to end up with something that you spend quite a lot of money on to get it in good condition, and then it's going to end up worth, unfortunately, very little. Now, I appreciate the styling was Marmite. When it came out, it was Marmite. I remember as a child, many years ago, in the early 80s probably, when the Tr7 came out, late 70s, early 80s, and the X19 was around, the Fiat X19, and everybody was like, wow, the X19, wow, that's fantastic. And I always thought the X19 was a pretty car, but nowhere near the Tr7. I thought it was so futuristic at the time, and I still think it's a futuristic looking car. The pop-up headlights and things like that were super cool. And they do work if you look after the electrics. They were an outstanding rally car. They worked really fab. And, if you bolt in there a Rover V8, an SD1 V8, 155 horsepower with the carbs on, it's not the most powerful engine in the world, but they are very torquey, and they do go nice, and they sound nice. They fit in there really well because it was designed to fit it in there. If you put power steering on there as well, which you can do, it's very light on the steering. Excellent suspension, McPherson strut front suspension, big front brakes. Triumph brakes always work really well. Rear brakes are good, very strong rear axle, basically the same as a Rover SD1, so super tough back axle with a variety of ratios available. Remember, if you've got a mk2 Escort and you want to put more than a crossflow in it, you're going to have to put probably an Atlas axle on the back. which is probably going to cost you about £5,000 if you want a really built one with a limited slip diff, something like that. These didn't come with limited slip diffs, but they are available, and they're probably about the same price as an Atlas one, but the other parts are a lot cheaper. Big back brakes, multi-link rear suspension, not leaf springs like an Escort or a Capri or a Cortina. They were on multi-link springs, link back axles, many moons before everybody else, with coils. Front suspension, McPherson strut. Yeah, some of the 2-litre engines are a bit, they were okay. They went all right. Of course, always came with an LT77 box, 5-speed box, right from the factory. Excellent gearbox. Very good with the 2-litre. If they were serviced properly and had the right oils put in, they last very well. I know people who've drag raced LTs, and they've never missed a beat with serious power and serious rear axles and grip setups. So I've never been a big fan of them, but they did put them in just about everything. They're still available. You can still find them out there. They put them in LDV vans. They put them in, obviously, SD1s. They put them in Tr7s, Tr8s, stuff like that. Nice gearbox, actually, in good condition. They feel very nice. Everything was modern on them. Yes, the electrics are a bit, but again, 70s, 80s cars. Mk2 Escorts, yeah, they have McPherson struts. They have very small front brakes. Brakes were always meagre on Fords. They were sort of okay at the time, but on modern roads, I know my Capri brakes were awful. But yeah, I just think as an out-of-the-box car, if you went out and bought one of either standard, and I don't mean a 7 V8, I mean a 7 with a 2-litre engine in, which is bigger than most Escorts. Remember, you had to get an RS2000 for a 2-litre engine. And again, the cost of one of those, astronomical at the moment. I had a Mk2 Escort. I was never keen on it. I bought it because it was cheap and it was there. And I thought, you know what? It'll grow on me. Like mold, it'll grow on me. And I built it. I put a big strong back axle on it. I multi-link suspensioned it. I put a Rover V8 in, actually, a 3.9 V8. It was excellent. It drove great, went great. It was a very nice car to drive, but I never loved it. The styling never did it for me. And I appreciate styling is something that, is to the person, but for me, just didn't work. So yeah, I mean, I think I know how desirable Escorts are now, Capris, for anything with a Ford badge, weirdly. I have my own opinions on why that happened. But if you want a real car from the, and if you can get a good condition TR7, it will cost you probably a quarter, fifth, maybe a tenth of a decent Mk2 Escort. If you want an Escort with a 2-litre engine in, you're going to be looking at serious money. It's going to be probably 20 plus in sort of usable condition. A TR7 is going to be 3, 5, maybe £6,000 at a push if you get a real minter. I only like the hard tops. I'm not a fan of convertible anythings particularly. That's just my personal taste. I prefer hard tops. I always have done. 2-door coupe, obviously. Don't get me started on 4-door Mk2 Escorts. Seriously. Flexomatic. Link suspension, bulletproof back axle, good brakes, good front suspension, good engine, good layout. Engine's well back in the engine bay. Tons of room to work on it. Modern clocks and dials inside for the zeitgeist, for the time. Good 5-speed transmission. I think it's just people's idea of the aesthetics. Those of us that love them, great. Those that don't. So yeah, that's it. That's me. I'm out of the closet. I like TR7s. I think they're great. I think a TR7 with a V8 is a real car. The Grinnell that I picked up recently for a friend, I'll put a picture of that on the thumbnail or somewhere in this video, no doubt, was a really nice looking car. Yes, it needed a few little bits of work, but it wasn't a rot box at all. The engine is, we believe, a 3.9. It has no markings on it, so without stripping it, we couldn't tell. But now it's running, it goes really, really well. You're not going to keep up with a V8 TR7 or anything else with a 2-litre Escort, unless it's had millions of pounds spent on that engine, and even then you're going to struggle. I remember running my car at Melbourne Raceway. Hi, guys. And I remember one of the lads I know on Facebook who said there was a guy sat behind me going, why would you ruin an Escort with that? Why would you ruin it? Why would you put a Rover V8 in an Escort? it'd be faster with a Pinto in it anyway. The weight same. He said he was wittering on and on and on. I laid down a 12-second quarter mile, and he said his face just dropped. He went, "Oh, right." That was it. It was like, yeah, you're not doing that with a 2 litre, not unless you're building something or buying something really, really expensive. So yeah, I think Tr7s are better, and that's that. Sorry and all that. It's probably not popular, but I just think they're a better car. I really do. They're rarer as well, really, truth be told. It's been a trip coming out the closet about this, but there we are. Now I've got it off my chest. I feel a bit comfier about it. And, please, by all means, like, share, follow, watch my video, share my video, do what you like with my video. Tell me what you like, what you don't. Tell me what your opinion is on a Tr7 or a Tr7 V8 or a Mark II Escort. Joking aside, I do respect all cars, and if you've got a Mark II Escort, I have nothing against you having a Mark II Escort. I'm not being nasty about them. I don't hate them or anything like that, but I do think a Tr7 was a better car from the factory. It's not. I'm not laying down the law and saying that's it. Take all the Escorts out and scrap them. I'm not the government. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, I'm trying to have a bit of a joke. Cheers. Thanks for your time. Keep on classicing.